Let's get started. Create a new composition. Go to Composition. Click New. Rename it to Main 1. For this composition, I'm using 1280 by 720 pixels. Frame per second is 30 and duration of this composition is 15 seconds. Also go to 3D Renderer. Change Renderer to Cinema 4D or Ray Traced 3D. Whichever is available. Add a new white solid layer to the timeline. Rename it to BG. Go to Toolbar and Shapes tool. Double-click on Rectangle tool. To add a shape layer. Rename it to Floor. Also make this layer 3D. Go to Rectangle Content Properties. Hide Stroke Property and select Fill Property. Go to Rectangle Path and change the size to 1000 by 1000. Go to Fill and change the color from red to white. Go to Transform and change Scale to 2000. Change X rotation to 90. Now add a camera layer. Rename it to Camera. Change Zoom to 423.33 mm. Also uncheck Lock to Zoom. Now add a null object. Rename it to Camera Control. Link camera layer with null layer. Make Camera Control layer 3D. Now move the timeline to 0 frames. And click Stopwatch next to Y rotation. Move the timeline to 200 frames. Change its value to 1 and 0. Go to Camera and to Transform. Move the timeline to 0 frames. Click Stopwatch next to Position. Change its value to 0, -1500 and -2239. Now move the timeline to 200 frames. And change its value to 0, -1010 and -2239. Add a light to the timeline. Rename it to Light. Light type is point. And color is white. Intensity is 40% and fall off to be none. Check Casts Shadows. Move light layer below Camera Control layer. Go to Light Transform. Change its position to -370, -740 and -333.3. Go to Light Options and change Radius to 500. Duplicate light layer, by pressing Ctrl D. Go to Transform. Change its position to 770, minus 1650 and 1977. Go to Light Options. Change intensity to 20%. Now add rectangle shape to the timeline. Move this layer, below camera layer. Rename this layer to box 0. Now add a null layer to the timeline. Rename it to null 0. Move this layer below camera layer. Link box 0 layer to null 0 layer. Make both layers 3D. Go to Rectangle Path. Change its size to 200 by 200. Change roundness to 20. Hide stroke property and make fill property visible. Press Alt button and click stopwatch next to color. Add a script, given in the description down below. Go to Transform. Move the timeline to 0 frames. Click stopwatch next to position. Change its value to 0, minus 3270 and 0. Go to 31 frames. Change its value to 0, minus 49 and 0. Now go to 36 frames. And change its value to 0, minus 1 and 0. Ease this keyframe. Go to 47 frames and change its value to 0, minus 658 and 0. Ease this keyframe. Now go to 53 frames. Change its value to 0, minus 4.9 and 0. Ease this keyframe. Go to 81 frames and change its value to 0, minus 1 and 0. Ease out this keyframe. Now go to 96 frames. And change its value to 0, minus 1 and minus 10,000. Ease in this keyframe. Now move the timeline to 0 frames. And click stopwatch next to scale. Change its value to 0. Ease this keyframe. Go to 31 frames. Change its value to 98.5 each. Now go to 36 frames. And change its value to 595, 595 and 3. Ease this keyframe. Go to 47 frames and change its value to 82.5, 82.5 and 119.4. Now go to 55 frames. Change its value to 300, 312. Go to 60 frames and change its value to 54.4, 54.4 and 147.7. Go to 64 frames. And change its value to 174, 174 and 45. Now go to 69 frames. And change its value to 90.5, 90.5 and 109.5. Now go to 74 frames. And change its value to 108.6, 108.6 and 91.4. Now go to 77 frames. And change its value to 100 each. Now go to 89 frames. And change its value to 99.9 each. Now go to 96 frames. And change its value to 0 each. Change X rotation to 0 and 90. Go to Geometry Options. Change Bevel Style to Convex. Change Bevel Depth to 60 and change Extrusion Depth to 200. Go to Material Options. Turn on Cast Shadows. Change Diffuse to 88%. Change Specular Intensity to 70%. Specular Shininess to 4%. Change Reflection Intensity to 19%. Change Reflection Sharpness to 60%. Select both layer and duplicate these layer, by pressing Ctrl D. Rename it box 2 to box/1 and null 2 to null/1. Go to null/1 layer and to transform. Press Alt button and click stopwatch next to Y rotation. Add the script from the description below. Go to box/1 and to fill property. Change its script from the description down below. Go to transform. Remove keyframes from position and scale. Change position value to 0, -3270 and 0. Now press Alt button and click stopwatch next to position. Add the script from the description down below. Now change scale value to 100 each. Now press Alt button and click stopwatch next to scale. Add the script from the description down below. Duplicate box/1 and null/1 layer, around 10 times. Go to box 0 layer. Go to fill and change color to 0, 0 and 50. Move the timeline to 280 frames. And trim comp to work area. Now create a new composition and rename it to main 2. Change the duration to 40 seconds. Go to project window. Drag main 1 comp to the timeline. Right-click on main 1 layer. Go to time. And click time stretch. Change stretch factor to 1000. Now add a new composition. Rename it to final. Go to project window. Drag main 2 comp to the timeline. Duplicate this layer by pressing Ctrl D. Change its mode to add. Go to Effects and Presets. Add a fast box blur to this layer. Change blur radius to 100 and iterations to 1. Check repeat edge pixels. Now add adjustment layer. Rename it to CC. Now add a curves effect to this layer. Change its RGB channel. Now add hue saturation effect to this layer. Change master hue to 80 and master saturation to 23. Now add color balance effect to this layer. Change shadow red balance to 43. Change highlight red balance to 37, green balance to 18 and blue balance to -16. That is folks for today. I hope you like my video. If you like the video, please click the like button. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to it. Thank you and have a nice day.